guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and you are watching The Nerdy Grail. Now, today is the final movie review of 2024, and it is a movie review on a film that I have been dying to watch for 2.5 years. As you can see by the Funko Pops in the background, as you can see by the cup I just held up, I've got not just one of these, but I've also got two of these. It is a movie review on none other than Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And oh my word, it was an absolute blast of a movie. But before I get into the review of these movies, can I just say, these cups as well. So I decided to pick up the Sonic the Hedgehog one. So, looks very, very nice. Bit unfortunate that they don't actually have the white on his shoes. I don't really know why that is. It is very nice. And then the cups there, got a nice picture of Sonic, Knuckles and Tails. And then you got good old Shadow on the side. And then my fiance decided to pick up the Shadow the Hedgehog one. Where again, I don't understand why just all white shoes. You know, come on, add at least a little bit of the colour on. Even his gloves are just all pure white. Just a little bit of a nitpick, but still really nice to have. Same pattern on the cups as well. They didn't change it, but that's fine. Nice cups, nice little souvenir to have from the movies. And you've got to pick up Sonic and Shadow. They also had Tails and Knuckles ones as well. But yeah, in terms of the movie, wow. Now this is going to be a spoiler review. So if you want no spoilers, please click off the video. Go watch Sonic 3, then come back. So I'm going to try and break it down for you. So firstly, we're going to go over briefly the plot. So it starts off with Shadow escaping from Prison Island. He's been locked there for 50 years because he was deemed a threat by Gunn. They didn't know if his powers could be controlled or not because he came from another planet in this fallen meteorite. He eventually awakes, starts going on a rampage. Sonic, Tails and Knuckles are called in by Gunn to help stop Shadow. Shadow just goes walkabouts at one point, trying to find out what's going on, why he's been locked up for 50 years, and he stumbles upon the old gun base, which has been destroyed, where they were doing experiments on him, and he stumbles across Gerald Robotnik, Dr. Ivo Robotnik's grandfather, and they team up in order to get revenge on Gunn for causing the death, sadly, of Gerald Robotnik's granddaughter Maria, who was also Shadow's, well, only real true friend in the world. And they're planning on destroying the world, pretty much. It's the plot of Sonic Adventure 2, but they have changed a few things. Meanwhile, Sonic, Tails and Knuckles obviously are trying to track Shadow down, but to do that, they come across Agent Stone, who leads them to Dr. Eggman, so they team up with Eggman. Eggman eventually betrays them and joins Team Dark, as I like to call it, because they are basing it on Sonic Adventure 2. So he teams up with his grandfather and Shadow in order to find these two keys to this ultimate weapon known as the Eclipse Cannon to annihilate the planet, basically. Not to rule the world, they want to destroy the entire planet. Shadow and Gerald does anyway. Eggman wants to rule it, but he eventually finds out that his grandfather's planning on destroying it, and so betrays him and does team up with Sonic. But yeah, it's a really, really good movie. The pacing, I will admit, at times the pacing does feel a little bit off, but you are still engaged because there is constantly stuff going on. All the characters are brilliant. So that's a brief summary of the plot. I mean, obviously, in the end, they do stop Gerald's plans. Sonic does team up with Shadow in the end because Shadow realizes that this is not what Maria would have wanted, and he can't keep holding on to revenge. Sonic teaches him that at one point in the movie. So they sort of team up to stop the Eclipse Cannon. Eggman and Shadow supposedly sacrifice themselves, and everything goes back to normal, pretty much. It ends how it started. It started with Sonic racing Tails and Knuckles, and it ends with Sonic racing Tails and Knuckles, sort of coming full circle. So it's quite a nice start and end, really. Very fast paced though at the start of the movie. That's why I say about the pacing feels a bit off. Is it either feels too quick or too slow? But I'm going to go over some of the positives and negatives, and then I'm going to talk about the major spoilers. So the positives of the film: every single actor and actress in this movie does a fantastic job. Ben Schwartz, amazing again as Sonic. Colleen O'Shaughnessy as Tails, fantastic. Idris Elba as Knuckles, hilariously funny. Love Idris Elba. Keanu Reeves is the star as Shadow the Hedgehog. He does a brilliant job in bringing that character to the big screen. And we've all been wanting Shadow to come to the big screen ever since they announced that they were doing a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. So thank you, Keanu. You did a brilliant job. Jim Carrey doing a double role as both Eggman and Gerald Robotnik was hilarious. And there was a fourth wall break that I couldn't believe was in the movie. When Gerald and Eggman meet for the first time, they like put their hands together and then both turn and look deadpan at the camera, saying it's almost like we're in a movie played by the same actor. And it's like, I didn't expect that level of fourth wall break. But that was, they did a fantastic job. And then even more of the human characters as well. James Marsden as Tom Wachowski, fantastic job. Tika Sumpton as Maddie, fantastic again. Even though they're not in it as much, they sort of take more of a back seat, which I don't mind as much, but it is what it is. It's usually at least one film where that happens. But they did a brilliant job as well. I couldn't fault it. Agent Stone, again, he took a bit of a back seat, but he was still great and still in love with Dr. Eggman. But there was a nice scene towards the end where Eggman is supposedly sacrificing himself, but does finally address that he does actually care for Agent Stone. So that was quite nice. But yeah, the acting was brilliant. Visually, it was stunning. Every shot, when Shadow first comes out of the tank and you see all his spikes and fur and all soaking, dripping wet, the detailing on it is fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. You know, seeing Shadow walk through Tokyo as well in the rain, very John Wick vibes, which makes sense because Keanu Reeves plays John Wick and now plays Shadow, so it is brilliant. Visually stunning. The music, oh my god, the music was brilliant. They played Live and Learn. During the final confrontation, they played Live and Learn. If you were going to play one song from Sonic Adventure 2, you had to play Live and Learn. They also do the iconic poses where they're side by side. The Easter eggs in this film is ridiculous. It is absolutely brilliant. I love it. So the music, stunning. Visually stunning. Acting, brilliant, if I'm being perfectly honest. Absolutely brilliant. There's very little I can honestly criticise about this movie. I loved this movie. Seeing Super Sonic and Super Shadow is brilliant as well. Super Shadow looks brilliant, looks great. We knew that Super Sonic looked great from the previous movie, but I was unsure about how Super Shadow was going to transfer because he's a slightly different colorization to Super Sonic, but they managed to pull it off brilliantly. I will quickly talk about the negatives, but I'm not going to be hanging very long because for me anyway, there's very little to criticize in this film. The only thing that I will criticize in this film, apart from saying that the pacing was off, because within the first 10 minutes of the movie, Shadow's escaped, Sonic's been called, he's had his first fight with Shadow. They needed a bit more time in order to establish the characters as well, especially if this was your first Sonic movie. I felt they were a bit too fast-paced and they didn't really explain things very well at the start, if I'm honest. So, you know, that was a negative. But the other negative, and the core negative for me, was just, even though Jim Carrey was hilarious as both of them, and I said this to my fiancée at the time, it did feel off. He felt a bit too comedic. True, it could be because he spent like years just slomping away watching like rom-coms and whatever on the TV, and so he's lost his mind. But Jim Carrey's Eggman did feel very, very bit too silly, especially the final fight between Eggman and Gerald. It was ridiculous. They were pulling out all sorts of things. But yeah, it did feel a little bit silly at times. But I didn't mind that as much. That could also be a positive because, like I said, it was hilarious. But that's it for the negatives. Going back to another positive mind as well is Maria. Maria was brilliant. I loved the backstory of Maria. I loved the fact that Shadow and Maria had a really good relationship, and you got to see that more than you do in the games. You got to see Shadow watch movies with Maria, go stargazing with Maria. They would run through the complex, Maria on roller skates, and Shadow would be dragging her. It was brilliant to see. Absolutely brilliant. Um, so yeah, I think they did that really, really well. But that's the positives, negatives, and the plot. I'm going to quickly now talk about the post-credit scenes. There's two post-credit scenes. One of them reveals that Shadow is actually still alive. You see this big crater in the ground, and you see one of Tails's. I can't remember if it's either Tails' little handcuffs that he has in that, or it's one of Shadow's rings. Um, but you then see Shadow's shoes, revealing that Shadow is actually still alive. But the core post-credit scene is the first one. You see Sonic running through this woodlands, and he ends up in New York State Park, saying that he's run a bit too far, obviously doing another one of his races. But then he gets ambushed, and he gets ambushed by Metal Sonic. Yeah, Metal Sonic, and an army of them at that. And I sort of knew Metal Sonic was coming. I sort of accidentally saw a spoiler beforehand, but I anticipated Metal Sonic would be next. If they're going based on the game timeline, Sonic Heroes would be the next one to do. Metal Sonic's a core villain in that, or you go back and do Sonic CD, and Metal Sonic is also in that. So yeah, seeing Metal was unbelievable, and he looks gorgeous. He looks amazing. But not only did we see Metal, we also saw Amy Rose. Amy came to Sonic's aid, and Amy looks brilliant as well. So we're going to get Amy in the next movie as well. So, and it makes sense to introduce both of those, which is why I get a sort of CD vibes as well, because of the fact you're introducing Amy and Metal at the same time. But it was amazing. Great post-credit scene. I can't praise this film enough. It was an amazing movie. And then I've got a ranking video of ranking my movies of 2024. Expect this film to be quite high on that list, people, because it was fantastic. Was it the best in the trilogy? Possibly. I would say either this or the second one. The first one is probably the worst, but still saying that, it is a fantastic movie. They just get better, I think, the more they introduce more characters from the Sonic universe. But that is going to be my review on Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please like it by giving it a thumbs up. Comment down below your thoughts on Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and subscribe if you are new. But for now, this is the Nerdy Grail signing off. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now, everyone.